Picture this. You're a 7-year-old boy in a small tenant cottage in rural England, 1842. The world smells of damp earth and wood smoke, a comforting scent you associate with your mother, mending your only shirt by the hearth. You spend your days chasing sparrows in the fields and helping your father with what little gardening your small plot allows. Your world is one of hunger, yes, but it is also one of familiar love. Your father's calloused hand on your head, your mother's thin voice singing a lullaby. These are the pillars of your small universe. Then the man arrives. He is tall and impossibly thin, dressed in black clothes that seem to be made of shadow and soot. He calls himself a master sweep, and he speaks to your father in low, urgent tones you cannot quite hear. You see your mother turn her face away, her shoulders shaking, and a cold dread coils in your stomach. Your father looks at you, his eyes filled with a hollowed-out despair you have never seen before. He kneels, his knees cracking, and tells you that you are going to the city, to London, to become an apprentice. He calls it an opportunity, a way to earn your keep, to have a trade. He presses a smooth river stone into your palm, one you found together last spring. He doesn't say it's a goodbye, but the finality in his touch tells you everything. You are sold. Not for riches, but for a few shillings that will barely feed your family through the winter. As the master sweep's cart rattles away, you look back at the tiny cottage, at the two figures standing helpless in the doorway, until they are swallowed by the landscape of your lost childhood. The journey to London is a blur of rattling wood and the master sweep's sharp, cuffing hand. The city, when you arrive, is not a place of opportunity but a monster of brick and smoke. The noise is a physical assault. A constant clang of iron, shouts of vendors, the rumble of 1,000 carts, and the ceaseless, desperate press of bodies. The air is thick with the metallic tang of coal smoke, a smell so pervasive it coats the back of your throat and stings your eyes. You are taken to a squalid tenement in a labyrinthine alley, where the sun is a forgotten myth. There you meet the other boys. There are 4 of them, none older than 10, all with the same haunted look in their eyes. They are a collection of ribs and smudges, their childhoods already scoured away by soot and fear. Your name is the first thing you lose. The master, whose name is Fleck, cannot be bothered to remember it. You are simply boy, or more often, the target of a curse. Your country clothes are taken, replaced with a single, rough-spun tunic and trousers, already stiff with the grime of a previous owner. The small river stone your father gave you is found and tossed into the fire with a contemptuous flick of Fleck's wrist. You learn your first lesson before you even see a chimney. You own nothing, not your name, not your past, not even your own body. You are merely a tool, a piece of equipment, and tools that break are discarded without a second thought. That night, you sleep on a pile of damp straw in a lightless cellar, the weeping of another new boy your only lullaby. Your first climb is your true baptism into this new hell. You are woken before dawn, your small, shivering body dragged from the cellar into the biting cold. You are given a crust of stale bread and a cup of watery, bitter tea. Then you are taken to a grand house, a world away from your cottage. Fleck points to the fireplace. "Up you go, boy," he says, his voice devoid of any warmth. The opening is a black, gaping mouth impossibly small. Panic seizes you. It's a tomb, a vertical grave. You refuse, shaking your head, tears tracking clean paths through the grime on your cheeks. Fleck's patience is thin. He grabs you by the scruff of your tunic and shoves you toward the opening. "Get in, or I'll light a fire under your feet to warm you up." This is not an idle threat. The older boys confirm it with their grim, silent nods. The fear of being burned alive is greater than the fear of the dark. You scramble inside. The chimney is a suffocating tube of brick and soot. It scrapes your elbows and knees raw, the sharp edges of the bricks tearing at your skin. The air is thick, choked with years of accumulated grime that fills your mouth and lungs, making you cough and retch. You climb, driven by pure terror, your small fingers and bare feet finding purchase in the cracks. It is a slow, agonizing ascent through absolute blackness, the only sound your own ragged breathing and the frantic beating of your heart. When you finally see a sliver of gray sky above, The relief is so immense it feels like salvation. But then you realize you must go back down and do it again tomorrow and the day after that. The cellar becomes your world, the soot your second skin. It works its way into every pore, under your fingernails, into the lines of your palms, until your very flesh seems stained by it. You learn to live with a constant cough, a hacking rattle in your chest that the boys call the soot tickle. Your body becomes a map of your trade. Knees and elbows permanently scabbed, your eyes perpetually red and inflamed. You are always hungry, always cold. The day's work begins before sunrise and ends long after sunset. A relentless cycle of climbing, scraping, and choking in the dark. The other boys are not friends, but fellow survivors in a brutal ecosystem. The oldest, a wiry 9-year-old named Silas, has been here for 2 years. He is the master's enforcer, quick with a kick or a punch to hurry the younger ones. His own fear hardened into casual cruelty. He learned long ago that pleasing Fleck is the only path to a slightly larger share of the bread or a less severe beating. You learn the hierarchy quickly. The newest and weakest are the most vulnerable, not just to Fleck, but to the older boys who will steal your food or trip you in the dark for a moment of grim amusement. There is no camaraderie, only a shared, silent misery. You learn to sleep with one eye open, to eat your meager rations quickly before they can be snatched away. You stop crying because tears attract the wrong kind of attention. You become a ghost in your own life, moving through the days with a mechanical numbness, the memory of sunshine and your mother's lullabies fading like a dream. You learn the unspoken rules of survival. You learn which chimneys are the most dangerous, the ones that twist at sharp angles where a boy can get stuck. This is the ultimate fear, worse than fire, worse than Fleck's beatings. They call it sticking. Silas tells you a story one night, his voice a low whisper in the dark, about a boy named Tom who got wedged in a narrow flue in Mayfair. They could hear him crying for hours, his voice getting weaker and weaker. They couldn't pull him out from the top or the bottom. Eventually, they had to break through the wall of the house, but by then it was too late. Tom had suffocated. The story is a warning, a piece of vital, terrifying education. You learn to twist your body, to contort your small frame in ways that feel unnatural, to always test a section before committing your whole body. You learn to listen to the sounds of the soot as it falls, to gauge the integrity of the flue. This is your true education. Not in reading or writing, but in the physics of narrow spaces and the architecture of death. You also learn about the kindnesses that are really transactions. The cook in a wealthy house might slip you a warm meat pie, but she expects you to be quiet and quick, to not leave a mess. Pleasing her means a moment of warmth in your belly. Annoying her means she'll complain to Fleck, and you'll pay for it later. Every interaction is a calculation of risk and reward, a constant, exhausting dance on the edge of a razor. Your body is no longer a vessel for your spirit. It is a tool for Fleck's profit. Its smallness is its only virtue. You begin to fear growing. Each inch of height, each pound of weight, brings you closer to being useless, to being too big for the narrowest flues where the real money is made. The boys whisper about what happens when you get too big. Some are simply thrown out onto the street, with no skills and a body broken by the trade. Others, if they are strong enough, might become journeymen like Silas, but that is a distant, almost unimaginable future. The physical toll is relentless. Soot gets into your eyes, causing painful infections. You develop sores that never fully heal. The constant inhalation of carcinogenic dust plants a seed in your lungs that, for many sweeps, will blossom into a fatal cancer in their 20s or 30s. The infamous chimney sweeps cancer. You see the future in the older boys. Silas has a persistent, racking cough and a limp from a fall. Your own body starts to betray you in small ways. A constant ache in your joints, a shortness of breath that never quite leaves. You are a disposable instrument, and Fleck maintains you just enough to keep you functional. You are a human brush, and when the bristles wear down, you will be replaced. This knowledge settles deep inside you, a cold, hard stone in the place where your heart used to be. You look at your scraped, blackened hands and you don't see your own. You see a piece of equipment, owned by another man. Occasionally, you catch glimpses of another world, a world of warmth and color that only makes your own reality darker. While cleaning the chimneys of the great houses in Belgravia or Kensington, you peer through the grate at the top and look down into lavishly decorated rooms. You see families gathered around a grand piano, their laughter echoing faintly up the flue. You see children your own age, dressed in clean, soft clothes, playing with painted wooden toys. They are like creatures from another species. One time, huddled by a fireplace waiting for Fleck, a little girl with bright ribbons in her hair peeks into the room. She sees you, a small, dark smudge in the corner, and her eyes widen not with fear, but with curiosity. She offers you a biscuit from a silver tray. You reach for it, your filthy hand trembling, but her governess appears and snatches her away, scolding her for talking to the soot boy. The girl looks back at you with pity, an expression that stings more than cruelty. These moments are agonizing. They are windows into a life you can never have, reminders of the vast, unbridgeable chasm that separates your existence from theirs. The warmth of their fires is the source of your suffering. Their comfort is built on your pain, on your small body forced into the dark and narrow spaces of their homes. You are the unseen, filthy secret that keeps their world clean and bright. The thought of escape is a constant, flickering flame, but the city itself is a prison. Where would you go? How would you live? A boy covered in soot is a target for everyone, the police, other gangs, men even worse than Fleck. You are marked by your trade, an outcast. You once saw what happened to a boy who tried to run. He was a new arrival, even younger than you were, and he'd made a break for it during a job in a busy market. Fleck and Silas caught him within the hour. They dragged him back to the cellar, and the sounds that came from it that night were things you try to forget but never will. The boy, Daniel, couldn't climb for a week. He moved like a broken doll, his spirit extinguished. He never spoke of his home again. The lesson, like all lessons in this life, was brutal and effective. The system is designed to prevent escape, not just with walls and violence, but by erasing any world to which you could return. You no longer remember your father's face clearly. Your mother's lullaby is a half-forgotten melody. You speak the coarse slang of the London streets, not the softer dialect of your village. Who would you even be if you escaped? You are no longer that boy from the country. You are a climbing boy. Submission is not a choice. It is the only viable strategy for survival. The flame of escape flickers and dies, smothered by the cold, practical reality of your situation. You learn to stop dreaming of green fields and focus only on the next brick, the next handhold, the next breath in the dark. Years pass in a haze of soot and survival. You don't die. You don't get stuck. You don't get too big too soon. You grow wiry and tough, your body a finely tuned instrument of the trade. You are 10, then 11, then 12. You are a veteran. Silas, having grown too large for the narrowest flues, has moved on, and you have slowly, grimly taken his place. You are Fleck's most reliable boy, the one who knows the most dangerous chimneys, the one who can teach the new arrivals. And then one day a new one arrives. He is 6 years old, weeping for his mother, his face pale with terror beneath the dirt. Fleck shoves him toward you. "Show this one how it's done," he grunts. You look at the little boy, at his shaking frame and wide, terrified eyes, and you see yourself. You see the boy you were, the one who clutched a river stone and cried for his mother. For a moment, a wave of sickness and pity washes over you. But then Fleck's shadow falls over you both, his impatient scowl a silent threat. You know what you have to do. You harden your face. Stop your sniveling. You snap at the boy, your voice a harsh imitation of Fleck's. It's just a chimney. You grab his small arm and pull him toward the fireplace. When he hesitates, you give him a sharp push. You have become the thing you once feared. You have survived, but the price of your survival is your soul. You are now a cog in the machine that grinds up children, perpetuating the very cycle of cruelty that broke you. The horror is no longer just what is being done to you, but what you are now capable of doing to another. You emerge from the darkness of the chimneys into the half-light of a young man's life, but you never truly leave the soot behind. The laws eventually change, spurred by reformers and horrified writers, and the use of climbing boys is finally outlawed. But this comes too late for you and for thousands like you. You carry the trade in your lungs, in the persistent rattle of your breath, in the scars on your skin and the deeper scars on your mind. Your story, and the stories of countless others, are largely forgotten, sanitized into the quaint, romantic figure of the lucky sweep in children's stories. People see the top hat and brush and think of good fortune, of a cheerful caricature dancing on a rooftop. They do not think of the boys who suffocated in the dark, of the children sold for shillings, of the institutionalized cruelty that heated the homes of an empire. The grand Victorian townhouses of London still stand, monuments to an age of progress and prosperity. Tourists admire their architecture, the elegant fireplaces in every room. They don't hear the echoes in those chimneys, the faint, desperate scratching of small hands, the ghost of a child's cough. Your story is a silent testament, buried in the bricks and mortar. You, the boy I've imagined, represent all the nameless children whose childhoods were burned as fuel for industry and comfort. The horror was not just the physical danger, but the systematic way it turned children into tools and victims into perpetrators. Your ghost, and the ghosts of all the climbing boys, haunt the very foundations of that age of grandeur. A quiet, soot-stained reminder that the price of progress is often paid by the smallest and most vulnerable, their silent suffering the darkest secret of the empire's hearth.